Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the grand poobah. Tonight is Thursday, June 11th, 2020. This is episode 500. I wish I had like a little reverb. I'd be like, 500 of the Daily Dope. So welcome aboard, everybody. If this is your first time hanging out, this is going to be a little bit different show than usual. Normally, I kick back and share the latest tabletop gaming news of the day, get a little chat going, and just kind of kick back, blow off a little steam, have some fun. Tonight, because it is the 500th episode of the Daily Dope, all 500 of which have aired live, amazingly enough, going to be a little bit different. I am actually going to share a bit of a video that takes you kind of behind the scenes of the Duct Tape Studios. Oh yeah, you'll be shocked and appalled, I'm sure. Probably more appalled than anything else. And then we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A. So if anybody hanging out wants to ask me any questions, I'm more than happy to provide answers for them, as long as they're not like too crazy. So anyway, but like I said, normally we're hanging out and we're talking tabletop gaming. That we are not going to do tonight, unless people are asking questions about it, various different games and things like that. There are a couple of little news pieces I will float out there real quickly. But before I get started, let me also point out that if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you do subscribe, by all means, ring that little notification bell, because it will not only inform you when the Daily Dope streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube. It'll also tell you when I upload my standalone videos, such as some cool stuff on the horizon. So don't miss out. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Because this is a live stream, that means chat is available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But I do my best to pay attention to chat. I do notice chat is flying past right now. So let me jump in, say hello to William McGinnis is here, John Vogel, Dan from No Enemies here, The Madman, Kabuki Kid, Will Burton. Who else do we got? Flaming Herons popped in. And I think that brings me, Casey Board Gamers is here as well. So as far as the chat tonight, things are probably going to zip by pretty quickly. So I got a kick out of William McGinnis started off with like $500. Woohoo! It's like, well, I mean, number 500. So yes, thank you everybody for everybody saying, hey, congrats on 500 episodes and so on and so forth. Very cool, very cool. Let's roll down here real quick, see what we've got. So I think I saw something where Fleming Heron said something about the ban hammer coming down. Kabuki Kids mentioning that they read that Magic the Gathering banned a handful of cards for having racist tones. There's a lot of stuff going on. That is one of the things we will kind of chat about a little bit tonight. Not a whole lot, because I know people want to see the goofy ass behind the scenes video. But Origins Online has been canceled. So, all right. So Kabuki Kid says, I thought you were joking about banning me with your blue wrench. Yes, because the Madman and Flaming Heron are actually moderators in chat, because normally I can expect one of the two of them to be hanging out and watching the show live. All right. So first off, let's before we jump into the little behind the scenes. So Origins Online was canceled today. I first heard about this. Maybe they canceled it late last night. First thing I had heard of was my friend Julie Ahern had posted on Facebook saying that after like long deliberation by the team over at Greenbrier Games, that they decided that they were withdrawing from the Origins Game Fair, the online Origins Game Fair. And I had not really been following too strongly, not too closely, I guess I should say, as far as what's going on with Origins Online, because I wasn't planning on really attending. I just like Gen Con Online, I don't think I'll get on board with that. It's just a little different. It's just kind of weird. So Kabuki Kid says that Origins Online canceled around midnight. So I've got that. All right. So anyway, Rob Hodel, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, has joined us in chat. I do not believe Rob has hung out with us before, so welcome aboard. Glad to have you hanging out with us in chat tonight for episode 500. So my understanding, and I might be wrong, so please don't freak out and start commenting in the comment section. Oh, for crying out loud, Jeff, you don't know what the hell you're talking about like usual. But I believe there were companies that were upset that Origins had not come out with any sort of statement about Black Lives Matter. I think that was kind of what was going on. I believe Danny Lowe, who I don't know real well, but I know Danny from when she worked for Renegade Game Studios and also with Gamma. She had stepped down. She had quit. And she was kind of in charge of, kind of outreach, I guess we want to say. So, like, if you were press and you went to Origins and you had a press pass past couple of years, you would talk to Danny when you went and picked up, usually you would talk to Danny when you picked up your press credentials and that. So I believe she just recently stepped down. So I believe it's a lot of pushback on Origins not making any sort of statement about Black Lives Matter or diversity in gaming. And I guess when they finally did release something, it was very weak sauce. So I guess a lot of these various different companies, these exhibitors who are going to take part online, decided, we're not having anything to do with it. So I believe Origins Online they're kind of playing it off that in this environment right now, they don't feel right actually having the online convention. I don't believe that's the real story, though. There's always some goofy ass crap going on with Gamma behind the scenes, and it's So taking a look here at chat. So Kabuki Kid is saying, yes, Origins dragged their feet too long. People went crazy. And yes, they canceled it last night about midnight, or I guess we'll say this morning. So Kabuki Kid says, yes, that's kind of their understanding, what I'm saying as well. Piggybacking on that, I was taking a look at some comments on Facebook, kind of on the Origins Facebook page. That's how I was trying to kind of piece things together. And a lot of people were giving Tom Bassel shit at the Dice Tower because of their statement that they released. I was like, come on. It's like, geez, what are you going to go after everybody? I mean, we talked about this the other night where it's like people have to protect their brand, and I understand that. I don't have a brand, so I could sit there and say, yes, Black Lives Matter, diversity is important. And I have been talking about that for decades in the hobby. So if you ever followed the Gaming Gang in any of our 10 years, I am pretty much open to anybody at the game table. I welcome everybody aboard. unless you're an asshole. And if you're an asshole, no, I don't know. That's it. It's the only kind of people I don't want at my table. So there you go. So Kabuki Kid says Tom's a good guy. He doesn't deserve flack. Yeah, I agree. I do agree. You know, what are you supposed to do, right? You know? So I don't know. But we're not going to get a whole lot into that tonight. It's just weird. But yes, very strangely enough, Origins Online is been canceled. So it's all right. I was like, whatever. Kabuki Kid says Tom even did an episode where he had Eric Lang on and let Lang basically take over for an hour talking about racism. Yeah, I mean, what? I don't know. Gamers can be odd. We all know that. I mean, anybody can be odd. So some people take things just way, way too seriously. And I'm not saying racism isn't serious. Systemic racism is a huge problem in the United States. And I have lived in Chicago. I don't live in Chicago now. I live in a suburb of Chicago. I saw it. I saw how people were treated because of the color of their skin. It's still around. So anyway, so KC Board Gamer says, whatever you do, it's not going to be enough. Well, as long as you sit there and you say, hey, you know, I open my heart to everyone. And if you turn out to be an asshole, well, I'm closing the door on that. But other than that, you know, just like this is Pride Month, I am very happy with all the different folks of all the various different sexual orientations and what have you. I have no problem with it. I don't know. I never have. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I was just raised fairly open-minded, or I'm just a goofball. Maybe it's because I don't have any religious affiliation. So I don't have like a pre-built like reason to hate people or anything like that. So I don't know. All right. Anyway, moving right along. The other thing I wanted to mention is it's Thursday. Epic Game Store, free games. And see, I was sitting there going, man, I hope it's not that Samurai Showdown for the Neo Geo. It's just not something but it is. And Ark Survival Evolved. So there are two big freebies. One is Ark, that people got all upset last week that wasn't on the Epic Game Store. In fact, I was called a boomer by somebody with 4 followers on Twitter, whatever. So you got both. So you got Ark and the Samurai Showdown, which has never been on sale before. So it's available for free. Both those games are free through next week. So next Thursday. So be sure to grab them. So Kabuki Kid says, yeah, it's sad but true. Some religious sects can be bigoted. Yeah. Once again, people have their own beliefs. That's fine. As long as it doesn't interfere with the rights of other people. That's how I kind of look at it. Craig Martin is joining us in chat saying, treat everyone how you want to be treated. That's how I kind of look at it. Although I have bad days, like anybody, everybody has bad days. Not bad enough where somebody's going to shoot a video on their phone while I go off on somebody. I never have a day that bad. But anyway, so yes, Ark plus more DLC as well. Really? I wasn't sure about that, Fleming Huron. Very cool. Very cool. I have not messed around with Ark. My nephew Cameron plays around with it a lot. I was talking to Elliot Miller, my best friend, who is not showing up tonight to say hello in chat because he's running Dungeons and Dragons for his family. I was like, yeah, whatever. People don't even believe you exist anymore. So it's like, yeah, okay, go run D&D. Because I guess it's his son's only night off, I think. But anyway, so we were talking about, he's messed around with it. He said it's very cool. My nephew and his friends play all the time. So the only thing that I'm a little worried about is it's like one of those time sinks, right? It's going to be one of those big time sinks. Glenn Darren has popped in. Good to see you, Glenn. Thanks for popping in. So I did want to spend a little bit of time just kind of chatting a little bit before we jump into the behind the scenes, because at least this way we get, most of the people who are probably going to be hanging out tonight. Do want to also mention that I've got some giveaway stuff at the end of the show. Gotta point out their PDFs. I know. And if you're not into role-playing games, probably not going to be very happy about it. But yes, Kabuki Kid says, yeah, I hear Arc can be a time sink. So anyway, so without further ado, well, I guess one last thing I should mention. Hopefully the mic is okay, because I'm still playing around with the way I want it to sound. There's just so many things that I can do with this. So I know by the time I'm done with my vacation next week and I come back after that, microphone should be okay. I think it's probably a little too bassy right now is what I think. So I'd like to have a little bit of a broadcast kind of sound to it, but also a little natural sound. Because I don't want it to necessarily sound like I'm doing the news here every night. So Kabuki Kid says the mic sounds fine. All right, let me grab a sip here. So I shot a little bit of video, and what I am going to do is I don't have sound in the video. So I'm going to kind of talk over it. I'm going to kind of explain what you're seeing. And I might be out of sync a little bit because I'm never sure like how far, like my voice should be in sync with this video right now. So I think we should be kind of close. So Will says, sounds great, just a tiny bit of sibilance. There's nothing I can do. Trust me. Is Will the guy who used to be a sound engineer? Because maybe Will can point me in the right direction on how to get rid of some of that syllabus or sibilance, whatever. It's that. So, don't touch the mic. You sound sexy. All right, William, enough of that. Okay, so let's jump on into the video. So first off, I did promise. Oh, so Will Burton says, yes, I was just an amateur though. Some live sound and recording. Hey, well, I'm telling you, Will, if I could send you like a raw file and you could tell me, hey, knock off that frequency, boost that frequency, anything like that, I would super appreciate it. Although you don't have to. All right. Sibilance. Thank you, Kabuki Kid. Yeah. Just like last night, I kept saying infidel instead of infidel. I'm going to have a nice glass of Muslim infidel. All right, let's jump on into the video. Because I had already promised that you would get a peek at Pinky. So here's Pinky in her natural habitat, sleeping. So if she's not sleeping, she's complaining. But she's a good cat. She's an old cat. So that is Pinky. Or Pinkie Pie. So, or as I like to say, Stinko Pinko. I call her that. And she had just gone to the vet today. So she had her nails clipped because she had a couple of them kind of going into her paw. Now here we have Smokey. Now, if you've followed this show, you know you've seen Smokey on my lap a few times. So there is good old Smokey. She is sacked out doing what she does naturally. And it's kind of funny. You'll be able to tell that she loves her owner because she gives me those little slow blinks. Yep. Just like that. And going back to sleep. So yes, you can tell that she loves her home because she's got the belly exposed, everything else. All right, so now we're downstairs. We are in the Duct Tape Studios. So I am turning on the lights. So you are going to get to see exactly how this is set up. So if you look to the right side of the screen, you can see that this is an unfinished basement. So that is where the Duct Tape Studios are. So I'm just hitting all the different lights here. So the lighting that I use is all daylight lighting. So it is not that yellowed kind of light. I definitely like that much better. There is, as you noticed when I first came down here, there is no natural light source. So it is all got to be generated by lights. So that is the computer. I am running a Ryzen 9 3600 with 24 gigs of RAM, DDR4 RAM with a NVIDIA 1060 Ti graphic card. So you'll notice I also have a couple of lights that are up on connected to those stands, which I have the Sony A6000 on, and those are off. I only turn those on when I'm doing like unboxings, when I'm doing, you know, top-down shots. So there is that's basically my background. So I've got those three kind of beat up shelves. And if you take an even closer look, you'll look at the bottom. You'll see I've got some boxes there. So there's still another shelf down at the bottom, but I have to kind of close it off to make sure that the cats don't get in there, because one time Pinky peed back there. So thankfully there were no games, but it's like, okay. So Kabuki Kid says, disappointed there's no duct tape in sight. There isn't any more duct tape. I don't have any duct tape on anything. I do have a little bit of painter's tape. So just kind of showing off some of the stuff that normally you see behind me. And moving right along, there is the 44-inch Toshiba that I use as my monitor. So I have some of the smaller footprint games there. I also have I have boxes with games as well. So that is the Toshiba, and you are looking at the Panasonic G85. Now this is the Sony A6000 that I use for the overhead shots. And this is my sound setup now. So that is the DBX 286S, which is a preamp that runs into the PreSonus Studio 2.4. That is, of course, the new Shure SM7B microphone. So you'll notice there's this kind of piece of, like, it's like rope almost, it's not string. That's actually to that's actually to one of the bulbs above that I turn off because it's just yellow. So this is what I look at when I'm doing the show. So you see there would be my teleprompter up top, which you notice I have to kind of squeeze it in above the camera. And then to the lower left, that is the program that I use that I stream through. So you recognize, the changing news slides there. And then, of course, off to the right would be chat. The Twine Studios. Yeah, the light twine. So over here, this is my table that I tend to keep the various different games that I have to shoot video for. And that is what's on the horizon so far. So I have loads of stuff coming soon, mainly reviews, although I am going to get that Imperial Struggle video out in the next couple of days. So what I was trying to do here was just trying to sneak on out, kind of back away so you can get a closer look at what this actually kind of sits in, like it's an island of gaming in this unfinished basement. And the thing is, I got kind of hung up on the chair. So I was like, come on, for crying out loud. Because the chair is actually fairly close to the games here. So I'll back out a little bit and kind of show you that's it. I mean, that's your background that you see. And yeah, it's kind of funny what you can do with a camera. See, like, there's bricks off to the side. All right. So that is a bit of a tour, bit of a look behind the scenes of the Duct Tape Studios. I still call it the Duct Tape Studios simply because when I started off, there was loads of duct tape. So the little setup I've got now where I have the overhead, which I can adjust. I can bring it up and down. That I had like with like pipe, like like plastic piping and stuff. So I got rid of that. And so yes, so there is no more duct tape in the duct tape studio. So Glenn asks, "This is your basement, right?" Yes. We don't have such things in Florida. We use our garage in place of basements. When I lived in Arizona, it was the same thing. Arizona, I didn't know anybody who actually had a basement. And I was very surprised. I would have thought with the heat out there, it'd be a no brainer to have basements. But I guess because of the sandiness of the soil out there. So Kabuki Kid says, love the Batman head. So yeah, it's my Lego Batman that will sometimes when we're doing like game reviews and I need an opaque container, that is the opaque container. So Flaming Heron says, yeah, busy week and a half to come. Yeah, even though I'm not doing a live show, I will be pretty busy. So Dan from No Enemies here mentions, nice to see the inner workings. Yeah, with bricks and twine, apparently. The twine is actually was here before I even started putting together anything as far as shooting video and stuff like that. So Florida basements are uber rare. So, all right. So that is your behind the scenes look. So if anybody has any questions, any kind of Q&A that they would like to ask, I know I've never really done this before, but if you'd like, fire away in chat and we'll spend a little bit of time. I figure I got about another 30 minutes or so. Of course, I do want to share the contest at the end of the show as well. So Glenn says, I know you always kid about the Duct Tape Studios being kind of a mess, but my kids' bedrooms make the Duct Tape Studios look like a hospital clean room. Well, I did clean up a little bit. Usually I'll have, stuff that I'm going to like hold up and show sitting right over here in front of me, stuff like that. I mean, so I've got my, my soda. I got my soda here. So Kabuki Kid asks, what was my favorite game from my childhood? So if we are talking about like when I was a little kid, we didn't play a lot of games. I remember we had things like Hi-Ho Cheerio, and I think we had like Battleship, things like that. But for the most part, my parents didn't really play games with us. So as a small kid, I don't remember too many games really standing out. Maybe Stratego and maybe Battleship. I would think those are probably two that really, stick in my head as far as these days when I was a little kid. But when I got a little bit older, I started getting into like Dungeons and Dragons and RuneQuest and Avalon Hill games and some SSI or SPI, I should say. SSI was the computer game company. Some SPI, not a lot. But there was a hobby shop. Now, this is when I was a freshman in high school. There was a hobby shop that I'd found, and it was called the Settler's Wagon. And I shouldn't say a hobby shop. It was a game shop. That's what it was. It carried games. And it was owned by this one guy who was probably in his 40s. So you figure at this time I was about 13. And that's where I got all my games, almost all my games. There was also a place called Gamers Paradise that was at the Harlem and Irving Plaza in Norridge, which is a suburb right next to Chicago, because I grew up on the northwest side of Chicago. And we used to get some games there, but almost all our stuff we picked up at Settler's Wagon because they carried. I'll tell you what I remember picking up there. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent. So I will get back to the chat. I remember picking up Call of Cthulhu, Traveler, Midway. I think I may have picked up Morrow Project at Sutler's Wagon. Fletcher Pratt. Oh my gosh. Fletcher Pratt's War Game. Got the rules because the rules in the 70s was started to be printed in Chicago. I wish I had still had those rules. I've got this crappy, like, I don't know, like revised book that came out that I was very, very disappointed with. So anyway, yeah. So those were the two game stores that I went to. So Kabuki Kid is wondering, what was the first game I would classify as a hobby or boutique game that I owned? I remember there was another, this was a hobby shop. There was a big hobby shop on the northwest side of Chicago, and it was called Stanton Hobbies. And it was kind of world renowned. It was huge. It was a city block long. And you'd go in there and they had models, they had radio controlled cars, radio controlled planes. They had everything. And then they had a small section that had like Avalon Hill games. I don't remember them ever having Dungeons and Dragons there, but I remember they carried Avalon Hill games. And I picked up Magic Realm. And I think I was probably 11, 12 years old. And I picked up Magic Realm and I couldn't make heads or tails of this game. It looked cool. I was like, wow, this is really neat. And I was like, duh. So I think that was the first like boutique game I ever had purchased. So Kabuki Kid mentions Stratego still stands up. Probably the best of the old classic games. Yeah, probably. I would think so. When I was a kid, did I know Ferris Bueller? No, I did not. Ferris was younger than I was. He was a few years behind me. Strategic simulations, there you go. Have I ever been starstruck meeting any famous people, gaming world or not? No, I haven't. And I have had the opportunity to meet, I guess to me it's a lot. But I met like especially when I worked in Arizona for the Arizona Biltmore, I used to meet loads of famous people like Muhammad Ali. Oh gosh, now I'm going to pull a blank. Okay, so like Muhammad Ali, Wayne Gretzky, Michael J. Fox, Joe Montana, Michael Jordan. I met Michael Jordan 3 times, once in Chicago, once in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and well, I shouldn't say 3, a bunch of times at in Arizona because he used to come and hang out with Charles Barkley. So used to run into him all the time. And I've never really been starstruck. There have been times where I've had an opportunity to sit down and do like a round table, like a press round table, that I wasn't sure what I should ask because I had no idea about the show. Like for an example, I was at the with Elliot. I was kind of his cameraman for the Supernatural Roundtable at Comic-Con 2 years ago. And I was like, what would I ask these people? I don't watch this show. I don't know anything about this show. Well, I have a like brief kind of broad overview understanding of what the show is, but I've never watched it. So, but no, not really. Never really been starstruck. In fact, I thought it was funny, and I've told this story. So at the last Comic-Con we went to last year, which unfortunately there won't be one this year, my brother and his friend David wanted to go get some comics signed by Todd McFarlane. And he was doing a signing at a certain time. I think it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon over at the Image Comics booth. And I said to my brother and David, I said, hey, you know what? We should probably run over there early because you may need to have a wristband to do this. And they're like, no, I don't think so. I'm like, I don't know. You need wristbands for everything else. You need wristbands to go buy the Funko exclusives. So we walked over, and sure enough, these people were in line and they all were wearing wristbands. So that was on one side of the Image booth. And then on the other side was Todd McFarlane signing stuff. So I asked the girl behind the counter, I said, is Todd signing early? And she said, well, no. She said, for the people who have the wristbands, there's in line over there. Todd just came down early and he's just signing stuff. So, of course, right away, my brother and David are like, yeah, come on. So there weren't a lot of people in line ahead of us. And then all of a sudden other people started noticing. So they started, getting behind us. So we get to the point, and of course, I didn't have any comics to sign. My brother gave me two to hand to Todd. So it gets to my turn, and Todd starts signing. And I said, oh, hey, Mr. McFarlane, we met before. He's like, he goes, really? I said, yeah. I interviewed you like 2-3 years before when they came out with their Walking Dead, like building stuff, like Lego stuff, right? And he looks up and he goes, hey, wait a second. I know you. I'm like, you do? He goes, yeah. He goes, I watch your wargaming videos all the time. I watch you all the time. So then we start talking, and like all these people are like waiting to get their stuff signed. And I'm like, and he's just, if you watch the interview that I did with Todd a few months back, you can tell he likes to chew the fat. He likes to chat. And it was kind of funny because, and my brother and his buddy are like, holy cow, man, Todd McFarlane watches your show. So I thought that was funny. I thought that was kind of funny. All right, so let's jump back in, and it looks like a lot of stuff's flying past. Some people are saying, Glenn said that his first hobby game was Dungeon. Yeah, I remember that. I don't remember playing it. I remember seeing it. I knew people who had it. D&D White Box, yep, had that. So Flaming Heron said, I may have mentioned this, but the top RPGs you played and those you like the look of and want to play? Well, I think everybody knows. It's all the way over there. I think everybody knows that Call of Cthulhu has a space in my heart. So I still got to say it's my favorite role-playing game of all time. I like the system. I don't necessarily like everything that they've done with the latest edition. I have minor critiques, but they're not major. I still love the game. And I don't know. It's just something about, I'm pretty good at running a horror role-playing game, especially when it's face-to-face. I'll tell you, I do like doing the remote stuff because then we at least get to play. It is not easy as a game master. I don't know. It's just different. You don't get the same, like, kind of you're playing the NPC and stuff like that. It's just different. But I am a big fan of Call of Cthulhu. I really do like the new edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I think that was very nicely done. Traveler's cool. The new edition of Traveler, it's not as intuitive as I would like. And unfortunately, there's a lot of the stuff that Mongoose comes out with is pretty pricey. Now, I did review the starter set, really did like that, but like I said, it's not as intuitive as I would like to have seen, and just the placement of some things in the books is a little off. So I would expect like psionics to be in the character book. Now we're talking about the starter set. We're not talking about the core rule book, and they're both kind of the same thing. So really, really like that. Forbidden Lands from Free League Publishing is very cool. Really like that one. I like the new Pathfinder. There aren't a lot of role-playing games that I dislike. I would say, and you can check out the review that I did of it on thegaminggang.com. And I see we hit a little hiccup there. Looks like we should be okay as far as the stream. It was called Lovecraft-esque. And I am not a big fan of role-playing games where the creators sit there and they puff themselves up and they're, oh, this is the Lovecraft game you've been waiting for. And it's like, no, it's not. And it was just crap. One thing, if you're going to create a game, create a game. If you want to make a political statement, make a political statement. I don't necessarily need both wrapped together. So, I mean, and yes, I understand H.P. Lovecraft was not a nice person if you weren't white. So, but I do also understand that he became more open-minded the older he got. Unfortunately, that's when he, got closer to dying. But I can understand that, and I understand people who don't want to read Lovecraft because of his views. And yes, some of his older stories are kind of cringy with some of the language. Fine. But don't sit there and create a game where you're just ripping on H.P. Lovecraft and then you're turning around and trying to put mythos adventures together. And then it's just bizarre. It's sort of like racism, as an example, is one of the kind of topics of one of the adventures. And they're not really full-fledged adventures. And early in the rules, they talk about, things like racism, very, very difficult to deal with. And you probably want to leave that out of your game. And I'll be damned if one of the adventures isn't steeped in racism. It's like, it was crap. It was garbage. So, but yeah, for the most part, most role-playing games, I'm not a big mechanics guy. Because I've run this stuff for so many years, if I run across something that I'm like, I don't like that, I just throw it out and replace it with something else. That's kind of how I do it. So when people are like, well, mechanically this game's a little clunky, but I don't know. I don't look into it. To me, when I look at a role-playing game, I sit there and I think, hey, does this sound interesting to either run or play? Now, unfortunately, I never get to play. I always have to run stuff. So that is one of the big selling points to me. So Gray Day is popping in. Good to see you, Gray Day. Glad to see you made it in to chat. All right. So, and I'm sorry, I believe I missed out saying hello to Malwinius. Malwinius has been here for a while. Okay. So let's kind of jump back in. So Kabuki Kid says, yeah, the Todd McFarlane interview was great. It was kind of funny because he was just running rampant. And I was like, So Will says that he thinks 5e is well put together and it's very successful commercially. Not crazy about a couple of small things, but it works well. It's not, yeah. It's, once again, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket surgery, right? I like 5e. I like the people who I've dealt with from Wizards of the Coast. I've never had any issues with people from Wizards of the Coast. And I know Mike Merles is, he was very nice to me. But yes, once again, they're kind of like, oh, well, he's not going to work on D&D. And it's like, oh, well, he's back working on D&D. It's like, you gotta either stick to your guns or not. You can't tell me that you can't replace Mike Merles. You can replace him easily. I like 5e. One of the things that, to me, 5th edition doesn't have enough content that comes out from Wizards of the Coast. I think that's kind of a problem. We usually get 2, maybe 3 book releases for D&D in a calendar year. One of them is usually kind of a setting book. So you only usually get the 2 adventures. Paizo, on the other hand, flip the coin there. I like Pathfinder. Pathfinder's the 2nd edition is probably crunchier than I want to run. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think it's a good system. It's just, to me, I don't want to have to get into all the different feats and all that other stuff. So, but I love the fact that you've got a constant flow of gaming material from Paizo. So if you play every week and you're playing Starfinder or Pathfinder, you've got plenty of material to get you month to month because of the adventure paths that get released. So very, very cool. I really like that aspect as well. So people ask me, which do I prefer, 5th edition or Pathfinder? I tell them, really, they're kind of equal in my eyes. So it depends on what you want. You know, one of these days I should probably put together a video talking about 5th edition and 2nd edition Pathfinder and which is good for you depending on what you're looking for in a game. So some discussion about Mystic Wood. Yeah, I remember that. Star Frontiers, RuneQuest, Titan, Talisman, and Dune. A Great A is pointing out. The only one of those that I did not have is Talisman. So Kabuki Kid says they didn't buy D&D stuff after 2nd edition until 5e. The funny thing is, I really didn't follow much D&D after 1st edition because even in high school, we stopped playing. I was running Call of Cthulhu. Elliot would run Star Trek, and he would also run a little bit of Stormbringer. We had some other friends. They ran Behind Enemy Lines, Top Secret. Top Secret was actually a pretty interesting system. And we played Morrow Project. So we kind of really didn't play fantasy role-playing games except for Stormbringer. And we didn't get to play those a lot. So for the most part, it was usually me running Call of Cthulhu, especially once I became like 18, 19 years old and didn't really hang out with too many of the guys from high school anymore. And it was mainly like Elliot, my friend Ed, Elliot's nephew Paul, few other people in the mix. So let's see. Up front, I never got a chance to play that. So Ambush, yep, that I had from Victory Games. That was very cool. Fasa's Battle Tech. Wow, those are some good ones. So B-17, that is a real classic, Will. We had that, and we actually would play with multiple players. So we would actually have like 3 of us playing, and we were all supposed to be, in formation and stuff. It's pretty wild. But the funny thing is, you look at it like I had fond nostalgic memories of B-17 and Gunslinger. That was another Avalon Hill game that I had these like really fond memories of. And I got a copy of Gunslinger. I was like, holy crap. It's like, wow, this is just not well put together. And I didn't get B-17, but I got the follow-up that Legion Games kind of did. I can't remember. I think it's B-24 is what it's called. And it's kind of their homage to B-17. And all it was charts. And I was like, yeah, you know what? That's what B-17 was, a bunch of charts. But we played the hell out of it. All right, let's see what else we got here. Did I play Top Secret? Yes, I did. I did play Top Secret. And I remember there was a lot of good stuff in Dragon Magazine for Top Secret. Now, I have heard that Top Secret New World Order is crap. I have not seen it. I know nothing about it, except that I've heard it is pretty crappy, which is too bad because Top Secret was pretty good. Top Secret was one of these games where, and I'm a fan of this. Like, for an example, I'm going to run Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay for Elliot, his son Brian, and I guess Dan from No Enemies Here. I guess. He says he's sending me emails about it. I don't know. It's Dan, I don't know. I would probably open it up to one other person as well to play on Sundays. And of course, we're doing it remote. And I like that system too. I get a kick out of that system. And I remember having the first edition from Games Workshop because I bought all of this Games Workshop stuff and painted it. Not fantastically. Well, I got way better as a painter. In fact, I used to airbrush 1/6 scale figures, and I got really good at that. But then that hobby dried up and died. Okay, so Melvinia says they'd really like to see a revamp of the Dark Sun setting. Yep, that's one that people really want. And of course, we keep getting, Magic the Gathering settings and stuff like that. And I understand. I understand why. Because Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, really, figures, hey, you know what? That's going to sell. It's, we're tying them together, D&D and Wizards of the Coast. And of course, we had the Critical Role book. Once again, because Critical Role brings in a lot of people and introduces them to Dungeons and Dragons. So, James Bond stuff. If we're talking about the James Bond RPG, that was fantastic. That was an awesome role-playing game. And if anybody could possibly relaunch that, it wouldn't have to be James Bond. It could be just a spy kind of game, right? Espionage game. I would pay real money for that because I have some PDFs of the old James Bond stuff, and it was actually really, really well done. Elliot ran that a few times. In fact, I remember he ran the Goldfinger adventure. So, and I remember it was different than. Yeah, looks like we're dropping some frames again. It was different than the actual film. So if I remember right, I think like Goldfinger like flies off some jet or whatever. Is that in the movie? No, it's not in the movie. Okay. So Dan says, I keep forgetting. Uh-huh. All right, let's see what else we got here. So KC Board Gamer says they're playing B-17 now. Sweet. Cool. Target for today, sort of the modern B-17. Kabuki Kid chimes in with. A Great A says a lot of people move to Gumshoe. Gumshoe's a decent system. Funny thing is, the only time you ever hear about Gumshoe is Trail of Cthulhu, Knights Black Agents, the Esoterrorists. I think there's one more. Oh, Bubble Gumshoe, which is actually not from Pelgrane Press. That's from Pinnacle, if I remember correctly. That was excellent. That was really well done. It was kind of like Tales from the Loop without a lot of the science fiction-y stuff. So, Fleming Huron says, Dan, send that email. Okay, let's see what else. So Fleming Huron asked, running the new campaign for Wurfrup? Yes. Well, see, here's the thing. It's taking my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment a long time to get the Enemy Within books released. So supposedly the PDF for the second part, Death on the Reich, is supposed to be out in July. And I'm like, yeah, I would really like to run that campaign. And yes, I know I can get the PDFs and that for first edition. They're available now. They're on DriveThruRPG. I don't know. So, but we're going to dip our toes in a little bit. We're going to have some fun. So let's see what else. I remember seeing a third version of Victory Games' 007 Assault game map at a convention, and they were running it with the RPG. I remember playing the game. I don't remember much about the game. Okay, so what is my favorite Euro game? My favorite Ameritrash game. So I don't use the term Ameritrash. Just like I don't use the term, geez, what is going on here? We keep kind of dipping down as far as the stream. Um, anyway, so the question was my favorite Euro game. I would think it's either going to be Everdell because I really, really like Everdell, or let's say Terraforming Mars. I really like Terraforming Mars, although that takes a while. I'm a big fan of Carcassonne. Carcassonne's super easy to play. I really enjoy that, and it is a board game that I have played with my mom, so that's pretty wild. And my nephew Cameron likes it. So let's see. Favorite Ameritrash game. So my favorite American style game. So this is the way I kind of break them up. So to me, most Euro games are kind of like puzzle games. And to me, a Euro game is a game that you're playing with other people, but you really don't have any impact on their gameplay. It's sort of like you're each playing your own little game. That's why many Euro games leave me cold because I feel like I'm playing in a vacuum. I like games where what you do impacts other players. Now, there are a lot of European games that do offer that. Maybe they're not take that, but even anything that's got worker placement where you're like, oh, I bet you wanted to get your worker over there to get that, but I got it first. So, but a lot of European games do play off as like, it's just like a little puzzle. I'm not a huge fan. But as far as American style games, which tend to be very thematic, they are very, very thematic. Dawn of the Zeds from Victory Point Games, designed by my good friend Herman Letman. It is excellent. And I know people out there are like, oh man, zombie games. It is not your same old zombie game at all. So really, really like that. Like Twilight Struggle, 1960, really big fan of those. We've been playing Ancient Civilizations of the Inner Sea. That's a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that as well. Dan's got to rock out. So good to see you, Dan. Send me an email because I want to email you a PDF of kind of like the starter rules for the game so you have an idea of what it is. So so those are some. What am I missing? There's a lot of games I really like. As far as war games go, Phantom Leader is excellent from Danferson Games. We've got some games from my pals over at Greenbrier Games. There's Apocalypse 2 I like. I know some people are not too keen on it. I enjoyed it. Folklore is cool. It's kind of a role-playing game-ish board game. That works pretty well. All right, gonna wrap up, but I will go and we will see what we've got as far as the last questions. The Madman asked if I've ever played anything from Savage Worlds. I have not. I have reviewed some stuff, but I have not played anything from Savage Worlds. I have read through the rules because at one point I was kind of looking around at different systems because I wanted to run a fantasy game, but I didn't want to get into a game where it's like just 25 minutes to play out one combat. And I didn't want to go like super kind of rules light, like Dungeon World. To me, Dungeon World is like super rules light. I know some people disagree, but to me, it's kind of along the lines of, well, you roll 2 dice. It's either above this number or below this number. That's kind of the rule. But no, I have not had an opportunity to play anything from Savage Worlds at all. Let's see what else we got real quickly here. Have I played Carcassonne the City? I think I played that once with Elliot. I think I did that one time with Elliot Miller. And it's you build the wooden blocks. I thought it was okay. Just like when I play Carcassonne, I have the big box. I think it's like the big box 2 that they came out with. I pretty much stick to regular Carcassonne. I don't play a lot of the the variants and the special add-ons and expansions and stuff like that. So Craig Martin says that they started with D&D in the early 80s, moved to Tunnels and Trolls, another good system. Castles and Crusades, I'm going to take a guess as your CNC. And RuneQuest. Love the old White Dwarf magazines for RPG stuff. Yeah, they were really good. Oh, gosh. Remember all those great magazines that we had? Okay, so Dragon and Dungeon, usually their adventures sucked. Let's just be honest, they just sucked. They weren't very good. Sometimes you would get some cool ones. There were some standouts, but like probably once every 10 issues, you got something that was like, wow, that was really good. But we had Space Gamer. We had The General from Avalon Hill. We had Shadis or Shadis. I believe it's pronounced Shadis. And I believe, if I remember correctly, I think John Zinzer from AEG had some sort of affiliation with that magazine. He may have ran that magazine, if I remember correctly. So we had those. We had, oh my gosh, Different Worlds. That was a Chaosium, right? So I wish we had, I know there are still like magazines that come out, but most of the time these magazines are just kind of commercials. I mean, like Casual Game Insider. I mean, for one, it's like casual games. And when they say casual games, they mean really casual games. But to me, it's, a couple of pages for a review. And they're always like, oh, yeah, these are good. This is great. Game Trade Magazine. I mean, all that is like previews for games. So that's really, and they'll throw like reviews in there. So, all right, so let's see what we got here. Kabuki Kid says Orleans is probably their favorite Euro style game. I have not actually played that. Favorite video game of all time. That is, that's a good one. I would think my all-time favorite video game. Damn, there's been so many. Fallout. I remember playing Fallout. Wasteland. Wasteland was cool. If we go way back, The Bard's Tale. That was another one. I played a lot of those kind of RPGs. The Gold Box line for Dungeons and Dragons. Those were the early ones, like Pool Radiance. That was pretty good. I'm going to say, I think my favorite video game is probably BioShock. Amazingly enough. I mean, that's a fairly modern game. So, Pinky's down here. All righty. Glad we don't have to hear from her. So, once again, it looks like we're kind of dropping down, jumping up, dropping down, jumping up. And to be honest, I think that's kind of like a YouTube thing. Because I always notice if I hit like the hour mark on a stream, suddenly there's like problems. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's actually coming on my side here. Okay. All right, Pinky, relax. So, Trollskin is our favorite game, says Craig. Dan said he sent you an email. Says Flaming Huron. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. I tease Dan. Thunderbolt Apache Leader. That is an excellent game from Danverson Games. Okay, so let's see what else we do. What do I get up to in my spare time? Flaming Heron's curious. I read quite a bit. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Watch TV, but for the most part, this is kind of what I do, amazingly enough. And I kind of keep an eye on my dad. So we won't talk about that much. I mean, not that, it's fine. It's, according to him, that ain't happening. But anyway. So yeah, so that's kind of how I spend my time. I tend to binge watch shows. So it's kind of funny. Like I'm like, oh yeah, can't wait for the second season of The Alienist, which is based on Angel of Darkness. I think that was the title of it, if I remember right. And it's like, oh yeah, I can't wait for that to come out. But I'll tell you what I'll probably end up doing is I'll probably wait till all 8 or 10 episodes have aired and then binge watch it because it's just how I do now. I like to have, I have Scythe or Wingspan as their favorite Euro, says Glenn. I've actually not played either one. For some weird reason, Jamie Stegmeyer never contacts me anymore. And when that they just started out, I reviewed their first 3 games and they were actually pretty good. And I don't know what happened. I mean, thing is, there's so many people out there doing what I do, and a lot of them doing it way better than I do. But I'm just not super good at contacting people and saying, hey, I would like this. Give me this. I would like to review that. I'm not real good at that. I kind of look at it like, you should probably know who I am by now. I've only been doing this 10 years. It wasn't like there were thousands of us out there when I first started doing this. So, let's see. So talking about Palladium. My only problem is with Palladium is Kevin. Less said about that, the better. Moving right along. But no, I mean, I remember, speaking of Palladium, it was, was it the Mechanoids? Is that the title of it? And it came out and it was, little digest-sized books. We're talking, this is probably early 90s. I thought that was a very cool setting. But the actual mechanics, it starts to, problem with Palladium, and, I haven't looked at any of their stuff in years, but the problem I used to have with Palladium was they had that power creep that just kind of got into everything. Let's see. All right, we're gonna wrap up in just a few moments here. Flaming Heron is talking about back when PC gaming magazines had those discs with the demos. I remember that. I used to hate those discs because most of it was just junk. But every once in a while you'd run into something that was like, hey, yeah, this is pretty good. And you're like, damn it, this game isn't out yet. I can't buy it yet. So Kabuki Kid mentioned that Wingspan arrived. So their original game got crushed. And Stone Mayer wouldn't help them with the problem, unfortunately. They don't replace boxes, apparently. Yeah, usually most companies don't. They don't have a lot of excess boxes around. Okay, so Gold Box Series, BioShock. Yeah. Did we hear Pinky? Yes, Pinky was down here, and she was pretty close, so you may have actually heard her. Pinky in the Wings. Okay, so what else we got here? Anyone watch Young Indiana Jones series? Originally, I remember watching that. I'm binging What We Do in the Shadows right now. I agree. That is a funny show. And I'm also a big fan of the IT Crowd. So I really like Matt Berry. Now, Matt Berry, he's been in some stuff that I wasn't super keen on. And sometimes he plays the same kind of character. This one, he's a little bit different, and it's not always him. He's not the focus. But yes, that is a pretty funny show. I need to watch the last episode. I have not watched the last episode yet. Solomon Kane or Conan the Barbarian? Ready? Get ready. Solomon Kane. Yeah. I like the Solomon Kane stories. There are some great Conan stories, Red Nails, for an example. But there are also some Conan stories that are just sort of like, didn't I just read this? I swear I just read this. So yes, I got to say Solomon Kane, my all-time favorite fantasy characters in literature are Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. Love, love the Fritz Leiber stories. And yes, I know they're kind of sexist and stuff. Yeah, I get it. But you figure, they were being written from like the 1940s to the 70s, 80s ish. So yeah, love Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. And the audiobooks that Audible did are really good. Really, really nicely done. Okay, coin system or old school war games? That depends. That really does depend. Depends on really the old school war game. So if it's super, super crunchy now. But then again, coin can be different for each of the releases. So like Cuba Libre is actually pretty easy to jump into. Pendragon, not so much. Both are coin games. So the Fritz Leiber archives are in Texas. Sweet. Nice. So Will Burton says, coin system or old school? Both. Do I remember the D&D Lankmar supplement? Yes. And I had it. And I didn't even run D&D, but I got it. Because I read Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. I don't even think I was in high school yet. I was just starting to get into like fantasy. So I had read The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, things like that. And I was kind of branching out. And I read those and I was like, wow. In fact, I want to say that I read Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser stories before the final book came out. What is it? The Night Knave of Thieves or something? I can't remember. Can't remember the last one. So I have not really had a chance to look really deeply into the Dungeon Crawl Classics Lankmar books. I did review the first release for, I think it was Savage Worlds for Lankmar, their Lankmar series. I thought it was pretty good. To be honest though, I thought that the person who was like the designer didn't quite get the stories. Didn't quite get the humor that's built into the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser stories. The one story where Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser are no longer really friends, and the Grey Mouser has kind of gotten fat, and he's kind of like almost like a mobster, and Fafhrd has become this like acolyte of this like really small time religion. Is a blast. I love that story. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. So, all right. Last round of questions real quick because we're at almost an hour and 15 minutes. So if anybody has any other quick questions. Did I ever read any of the Destroyer books? Remo Williams? I did. I read, I think, like the first 5 and then kind of fell out of it. I mean, there was actually a period of time where we used to pick up, get ready, Soldier of Fortune magazine because it had all like the modern warfare stuff in it. We weren't reading it because we wanted to be mercenaries or anything like that. We just picked it up because it was like, oh, hey, it would, because my friend Scott was more into like modern kind of role-playing games, like modern conflict kind of role-playing games. He was the one who ran Behind Enemy Lines. So, and then we were kind of looking at like the Nam. I also think that the Remo Williams movie with Fred Ward and Joel Grey is kind of underrated. It's actually a pretty good movie. Some of it's a little creaky, but it was actually a pretty good movie. I was surprised that it did not like launch like a series of films, which is what they were trying to do. But I thought it was pretty good. I'm a fan of Fred Ward. Always have been. Since, what was it, Time Rider? I remember that movie. So yes, Kabuki Kid points out that the Remo Williams movie was fun. Okay, so now we're gonna wrap up. As I mentioned, got a contest out there for everybody, and I guess what I'm gonna do is because Dan left, I will actually send him a copy of. Oh yeah, Buckaroo Banzai. That was a good one. That was yeah. And the funny thing is, they actually when they wrapped up the movie, the closing credits, which was I'm sure they didn't really think they were definitely making a sequel, but it did say Buckaroo Banzai will return in. Yeah, that was a wild movie. I remember watching that. I think Elliot and I saw that movie, hanging out. I remember the two of us saw John Carpenter's The Thing, and we were I don't know sophomores in high school maybe. I know we weren't old enough to get in to an R-rated movie, but like that stopped us. We were 18 years old hanging out in bars. But I remember my brother had said, "Oh man, it's really like it's like gross," and we're like, "Yeah, yeah." So we're sitting there, we're watching it. About 20 minutes in, we're kind of like, "What the hell was my brother talking about? What was Greg talking about? Give me a break." And of course, about 30 minutes later, we're like hunkered down in the seats. We're like, "Oh man, oh." That was back in the days when he had like the kind of crappy theaters, like old neighborhood theaters, and you'd go and you'd get to see a double feature or maybe even a triple feature. And we're not talking drive-in; we're talking about regular theaters. So, Kabuki Kid is saying they're still waiting for a Buckaroo Banzai game. Wasn't there a Buckaroo Banzai role-playing game that was it Adamantium or something? Adamantum, something like that. Had kickstarted, and there's been nothing. I think so. Okay. Um, John Carpenter is great. I like him a lot too. Well, let's not think of Ghost of Mars. Ghost of Mars wasn't terrible. Prince of Darkness is another underrated movie. They Live is another underrated movie. And Roddy Piper was actually pretty good in it. He wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible. I've seen worse acting. So, all right. So that is it. Thank you, everybody, so much for hanging out for episode 500 of the Daily Dope. Of course, like I said, a lot different, a little bit different. I thought we'd just kind of hang out, have some fun, kind of show you what it actually looks like down here. But what I'd like to do is actually grab a sip because my throat's getting a little dry. There we go. So anybody who's watching live, what I'd like to do, and I did not put together any little like news slides or anything. So this is what you get. Unfortunately, they're PDFs because I think everybody knows that this operates on a shoestring budget, which makes actually a shoestring look like a cable holding up the San Francisco Bridge. But what I'd like to do is everybody who's watching live, even if you have not joined in chat, because I know we usually have some lurkers kind of hanging in, and that's fine. That's cool. So what I would like you to do in the next 15 minutes. So it is, by the time we sign off here, it'll be about 8:25 Central Time. So you have until 8:45. Yes, Shoestring Studios. I had thought of that, but yeah, twine. It's just one piece. Hang in there. It's just anyway. So you have to email me by 8:45 p.m. Central Time tonight. So if you forgot, I know I don't have it showing up down here anymore, but my email address is jeffmcaleer@thegaminggang.com. So you get to choose any one of the following PDF core books from Drive-Thru RPG. So basically, you're going to get this in PDF. So you can choose from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the core book for that, or their new Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Age of Sigmar Soulbound, which I have not really had an opportunity to take a look at, but Sammy reviewed and said it's phenomenal. She was super surprised, saying it's like Warhammer, but she was like, holy cow. Loose Brick Studios. I don't know what those bricks are ever here for. They've always been in this basement. I don't know. So you got those two choices there. You've got the Alien RPG from Free League Publishing. So that is your third option. And what else can we float out there? How about I do my favorite role-playing game? You can choose either the favorite sounds like most dear to my heart, I guess, role-playing game. You can either choose the Investigator's Handbook for Call of Cthulhu or the Keeper's Guide for Call of Cthulhu. So there you go. That's, the bricks were here from before. Yep. It's the Telltale Heart. I'm telling you. I hear it down here behind the wall. So you've got a choice of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Core Book, the Age of Sigmar Soulbound Core Book, both from Cubicle 7 Entertainment, the Alien RPG, or the Investigator's Guide, or Game Master's, Investigator's Handbook, or Game Master's Guide for Call of Cthulhu. Shoot me an email before 8:45 Central, so that gives you 20 minutes. And if you watched after the fact, sorry. All right. Hey, Smokey's down here, actually. Smokey popped down. Hello, Smokes. All right. So that is it for tonight's show. As I mentioned when I opened up, I, of course, don't do shows on Friday, and I am going to be taking next week off. So that means I haven't even looked at the calendar. So that means I will return with the Daily Dope on June 22nd. So keep in mind, still going to have a lot of videos popping out, just not the Daily Dope. Anyway, don't forget, you only have about 20 minutes to get your choice in for your free PDF RPG, just as a way of saying thanks for hanging out and celebrating the 500th episode of the Daily Dope. So anybody who's watching live, thank you so much. Always appreciate people hanging out and keeping me company, so I'm not just sitting here talking into a mic, into the ether. But if you don't have an opportunity to watch live and you happen to watch after the fact, maybe even on Memorex, I certainly appreciate that as well. Appreciate anybody taking time out to watch the show. And of course, if you do like this, please give it a thumbs up. Come on, you. What are you doing? Give me the little thumbs up here. There we go. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that little notification bell, because it will let you know not only when the Daily Dope streams live, most Monday through Thursday nights here on YouTube. It'll also tell you when I upload my standalone videos as well. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. So everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend ahead. Enjoy next week and next weekend. I will be back on the 22nd. So everybody out there, as I've been saying, during this time of pandemic, please continue to be smart and stay safe. Oh, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. And of course, if you want to catch up on past episodes of The Daily Dope, check out this playlist. And if you'd like to see what YouTube's recommending you take a peek at from the channel, just give a click right over here. Of course, I'm Jeff McAleer, and once again, thank you very much for watching.